you ever heard of the 39 steps? See, the very brilliant agent of a certain foreign power is on the point of obtaining a secret vital to your air defense.
You ever heard of a thing called persecution mania?
You don't believe me?
Frankly, I don't.
These men will stick at nothing. I'm the only person who can stop them. If they are not stopped, it's only a matter of days, perhaps hours, before the secret is out of the country. These men act quickly. There's a man in Scotland whom I must visit next if anything is to be done.
Beautiful, mysterious woman pursued by gunmen. Sounds like a spy story. There's been a murder committed up on the first floor.
Are you?
No. Now, those two men out there, they're spies, foreigners. They've murdered a woman in my flat, and now they're waiting for me.
Oh, come off it. Never heed the murder, Mr. Hannay. I don't doubt you'll be able to convince Scotland Yard of your innocence as easily as you've convinced me.
I was desperate. I'm terribly sorry. I had to do it. Look here. My name's Hannay. They're after me. I swear I'm innocent. You've got to help me.
Enough evidence there to hang anyone.
Hannay, you're under arrest on the charge of willful murder.
I'll be right along.
Gallant knight to the rescue.
I don't know how innocent you may be, but you're a woman and you're defenseless and you're alone on a desolate moor in the dark. Good girl, I'm accused of murder. Can't you realize the only way I can clear myself is to expose these spies?
Where's Richard Hannay?
What are the 39 steps?
Where is she?
There has been no English lady here.
What?
There has been no English lady here.
But it's ridiculous. She took me to the dining car and came back here with me.
Who went? She came back alone.
I know there's a Miss Roy. She's as real as you are.
That's what you say, and you believe it, but there doesn't appear to be anybody else who's seen her.
I saw her, I think. That isn't Miss Froy. Stop the train! Listen, everybody, there's a woman on this train, Miss Froy. Some of you must have seen her. They're hiding her somewhere. Do you hear? Why don't you do something before it's too late?
Please.
I know you think I'm crazy, but I'm not. I'm not. For heaven's sake, stop this train!
No, come.
Leave me alone! Leave me alone!
There was something strange about Johnny Aysgarth. I knew it long before I married him. Anything you could put your finger on, and yet you were always conscious of it. Conscious of something vague, restless, frightening. There was our first meeting on the hilltop.
Now, what did you think I'd do? Kill you? Nothing less than murder can justify such a violent self-defense.
It's so easy to think clearly. I knew Johnny loved me as desperately as I loved him. And yet I remember now that even his reassurances seemed almost sinister.
I want nothing but to spend the rest of my life with you. And if you were to die first,
If I were to die first. From that moment on, my life was filled with fear. thought of Johnny, I loved him too much to really be afraid. But the fear of not knowing, the agony of waiting, of wondering how it would happen, of waking in the middle of the night, shaking with terror, and finding myself praying that whatever it was, it would be done quickly and with mercy. These are the facts, the evidence before the crime. I wanted you to know, in case I met a violent end.
A foul sty. Do you know if you ripped the fronts off houses, you'd find swine?
I don't want you to touch my mother. So go away, I'm warning you. Go away or I'll kill you myself. Your hands. Oh, let me go, Uncle Charlie. Let me go.
I'm sorry to intrude on this tender scene. I knew her before you did, loved her before you did. I wasn't as lucky as you. I'll take care of her myself.
No, not that way.
I stood looking at her when she was asleep. I could have...
Quiet, Alex. You are almost as impetuous as before your wedding. You barred me from that episode. Let me arrange this one.
Alicia, what's wrong?
I'm so glad you came.
I had to. I couldn't stand any more waiting and worrying about you. There wasn't any help you had that day. You were sick then.
Yes. Yes, I was sick.
What is it?
Oh, death.
What is it, dear? What's wrong with you?
It poisoned me.
I just think we ought to wait till after you graduate.
I don't.
It's only a month.
Janet, a month.
Please.
Sorry.
I personally consider us engaged as of now. Congratulations.
David, no.
Look, you can say yes in a taxi. I have a 2:30 appointment.
I'm
and you're...
staying right here.
Oh, afraid you'll say yes?
I'll see you tonight at Brandon's party.
Okay. You can say yes, sir, just as well as in a taxi. Goodbye, darling.
Bye.
That's the last time she ever saw him alive. And that's the last time you'll ever see him alive. What happened to David Kentley changed my life completely, and the lives of 7 others. Janet Walker, Henry Kentley, the boy's father, his aunt, Mrs. Atwater, his best friend, Kenneth Lawrence, a housekeeper named Mrs. Wilson, and the 2 who were responsible for everything, Brandon Shaw and Philip Morgan.
Mouse, cat and mouse.
Philip.
Which is the cat and which is the mouse?
Enough of that.
He's got it. He knows. He knows. All right, he knows. Easy. I'll take care of you. Won't. I'd just as soon kill you as kill him.
I beg your pardon. Aren't you Guy Haynes? My name is Bruno. Bruno Anthony. Want to hear one of my ideas for a perfect murder? 2 fellows meet accidentally. No connection between them at all. Never saw each other before. Each one has somebody that he'd like to get rid of. So, they swap murders. Crisscross.
I may be old-fashioned, but I thought murder was against the law.
You think my theory's okay, Guy? You like it?
Sure, bro. Sure. Now, everything didn't go smoothly. She doesn't want the divorce.
But you sound so savage, Guy.
Sure, I sound savage. I feel savage. I'd like to break her neck. Now, who did you say this is?
Bruno, Guy. Bruno Anthony. Don't you remember? On the train.
Come on, Marion. Please, don't worry. We're all...
Is your name Marion?
Right here. How did you...
Help somebody! Help!
Guy. Are you trying to tell me? Why, you maniac!
But, Guy, you wanted it. There seems to be no way of diplomatically breaking tragic news. It concerns your wife. She's been murdered.
Miriam murdered?
She was strangled.
You're just as much in it as I am. We planned it on the train. Crisscross.
How did you get him to do it?
He's a maniac. I met him on the train going to Metcalf, and now a lunatic wants me to kill his father. Bruno, I've decided to do what you want.
I still think it'd be wonderful to have a man love you so much he'd kill for you.
Well, then am I correct, Mr. Haynes, in assuming that you have no intention of going ahead with our arrangement?
None whatsoever.
I don't like to be double-crossed. I have a murder on my conscience. But it's not my murder, Mr. Haynes. It's yours. I'm not going to shoot you, Mr. Haynes. I'll think of something better than that. Much better.
Better keep on your toes. Something funny's going on.
Guy Haynes is taking chances I've never seen him take.
Excuse me, madam. I need your help. We're chasing a man.
Haynes, hold it!
Crisscross.
New York Times called it tingling with excitement.
The Detroit News said it's the best crime play in years.
The London Daily Mail headlined, "A murder thriller with a difference."
The New York Daily Mirror wrote, "It holds your attention like a vice."
Where's the nearest police station?
What could you tell them?
I should simply tell them that you're trying to blackmail me into murdering your wife.
Fantastic, isn't it? But you know he's right, don't you, Tony? You've worked it out to the smallest detail. And this man is to be your murder weapon for the perfect crime. And you, Margot, you've been living dangerously, too dangerously. A married woman with a two-party line to your affections. And Mark, ironic, isn't it? That in this design for death, you should be selected to be the perfect alibi for the murder of the woman you love.
Are you ever going to tell Tony about us?
No. I couldn't possibly tell him. Not now.
There is evidence, however, that he was blackmailing you.
Blackmail? Yes, I'm afraid it's true, Tony.
And you suggest that he came in by the window. And we know that he came in by that door.
But he can't have come in that way. That door was locked.
You could have let him in.
Hello? Hello?
This is the scene of the crime. A crime of passion, filmed in a way you have never seen before, and as no one else would dare attempt. But the screen's master of suspense, the producer-director who shocked the world with Psycho. This is the apartment of a man named Jeffries, a news photographer whose beat used to be the world. Right now, his world has shrunk down to the size of this window. He's been watching the people across the way. Nobody seems to pull their blinds during a hot spell like this. He knows a lot about them by now. Too much, perhaps. For instance, down there on the second floor, the woman pacing about. He calls her Miss Lonely Hearts. So lonely that even death seems like a friend. These are the newlyweds on a honeymoon no one will ever forget. He calls her Miss Hearing Aid, an artist of a very odd and strange art. The songwriter who plays the same melody over and over again. A genius or insane? This is the traveling salesman and his invalid wife. Out of their arguments and nagging comes a weird kind of love. Miss Torso, the body beautiful. That is, viewed from a safe distance.
Those are just a few of my neighbors. First I watched them just to kill time, but then I couldn't take my eyes off them, just as you won't be able to.
And you won't be able to take your eyes off the glowing beauty of Grace Kelly, who shares the heart and curiosity of James Stewart in this story of a romance shadowed by the terror of a horrifying secret. and this year's Academy Award winner, Grace Kelly. Two exciting personalities who were made for each other. And now Alfred Hitchcock brings them into very close contact in this perfect tale of romantic intrigue, filmed on the beautiful French Riviera.
Oh, a very strong grip, the kind a burglar needs.
That's why you came out here, isn't it?
The scandalous romance that shocked even the blasé international set between this restless, thrill-hunting American heiress and the notorious man of mystery the French underworld called the Cat. For the game they played was not played for money, and the characters they played with played for keeps. No one but Hitchcock could create such relentless excitement, filling the screen with fireworks as he matches the blazing talents of these two great stars in the love affair of the year.
Look, John. Hold them. Diamonds. Have you ever had a better offer in your whole life? One with everything.
Come down, Robbie, or we shall be forced to shoot.
Ladies and gentlemen, the famous Miss Doris Day has gladly consented to sing a few songs for us tonight.
Que sera, sera. Whatever will be, will be. The future's not ours to see. Que sera, sera.
You're right, that was a gunshot you heard. That was the signal that brought all the trouble out into the open. It's a scene from our new picture, The Man Who Knew Too Much. As you know, Alfred Hitchcock has an uncanny knack for coming up with the unusual in entertainment. Well, The Man Who Knew Too Much can certainly be put in that category. I play the part of an American doctor. Doris Day is my wife. And the story is about our trip abroad that started out as a holiday and ended up as a nightmare. And to film it, Hitchcock took us thousands of miles away from Hollywood to Marrakesh, which is right in the center of the North African trouble area. And that was just the beginning. From there, we flew to London for backgrounds of a whole strange series of events that ended up that final night in the great concert hall, where the cue for murder was one single crash of the cymbals.
What, for 2 blocks?
You're late and I'm tired.
You know, that's your trouble, Maggie. You don't eat properly. All right. Here, taxi. I look heavyish to you.
What?
I feel heavyish. Put a note on my desk in the morning. Think thin.
Think thin.
Whoa, what's that supposed to be?
Car's waiting outside. You will walk between us saying nothing.
What are you talking about?
Let's go.
Now, what the devil is all this about? Why was I brought here?
Games? Must we? My secretary is a great admirer of your methods, Mr. Kaplan.
I told you, I'm not Kaplan, whoever he is.
Do you intend to cooperate with us? I'd like a simple yes or no.
A simple no.
A pleasant journey, sir.
You see, they try to kill me. Well, I mean, after all, Your Honor, would I make up such a story?
That is precisely what we're intending to find out, Mr. Antonio.
Well, she seemed to think I'm Kaplan. I wonder if I look like Kaplan. Do you know this man? You saw the newspapers. My fingerprints were on the knife. I'm a car thief, a drunk driver, and I murdered a man for revenge. I wouldn't have a chance. Tell me, why are you so good to me?
Shall I climb up and tell you why? How do I know you aren't a murderer?
You don't. Apparently, the only performance that'll satisfy you is when I play dead.
In your very next role.
You know, Edmund, you listen to me. I'm an advertising man, not a red herring. I've got a job, a secretary, a mother, 2 ex-wives, and several bartenders dependent upon me. And I don't intend to disappoint them all by getting myself slightly killed. Oops. I don't like the games you play, Professor.
War is hell, Mr. Thorner. Even when it's a cold one. Is it 1 to 15, upper level?
And now, what little drama are we here for today?
What happened to the first 2 marriages?
Well, my wives divorced me.
Why?
Well, I think they said I led too dull a life.
Mr. Kaplan, we've had just about enough of you.
Instead of you, we're on top of the monument.
That plane's dusting crops where there ain't no crop.
Good night, Miss Thornhill.
Good night, sweetie.
Good afternoon. Here we have a quiet little motel, tucked away off the main highway, and as you see, perfectly harmless looking, when in fact, it has now become known as the scene of the crime. This motel also has, as an adjunct, an old house, which is, if I may say so, a little more sinister looking, less innocent than the motel itself. And in this house, the most dire, horrible events took place. I think we can go inside because the place is up for sale, although I don't know who's going to buy it now. In that window on the 2nd floor, the single one in front, that's where the woman was first seen. Let's go inside. You see, even in daylight, this place still looks a bit sinister. Now, it was at the top of these stairs that the second murder took place. She came out of the door there and met the victim at the top. Of course, in a flash, there was the knife, and in no time, the victim tumbled and fell with a horrible crash. I think the back broke immediately and hit the floor. It's difficult to describe the way that the twisting of the well, I won't dwell upon it. Come upstairs. Of course, the victim, or should I say victims, hadn't any conception as to the type of people they would be confronted with in this house, especially the woman. She was the weirdest and the most... Well, let's go into her bedroom. Here's the woman's room, still beautifully preserved. And the imprint of her figure on the bed where she used to lay. I think some of her clothes are still in this wardrobe. this was the son's room, but we won't go in there because his favorite spot was the little parlor behind his office in the motel. Let's go down there. This young man, you had to feel sorry for him. After all, being dominated by an almost maniacal woman was enough to drive anyone to the extreme of, well, let's go in. Well, I suppose you'd call this his hideaway. His hobby, as you see, was taxidermy. Crow here, an owl there. Now, an important scene took place in this room. There was a private supper here. And, oh, by the way, this picture has great significance because, let's go along to cabin number 1. I want to show you something there. All tidied up. The bathroom. Well, they've cleaned all this up now. Big difference. You should have seen the blood. The whole place was, well, it's too horrible to describe. Dreadful. And I'll tell you, there's a very important clue was found here. Down there. Well, the murderer, you see, crept in here very slowly. Of course, the shower was on, there was no sound. And, how do you do? My name is Alfred Hitchcock, and I would like to tell you about my forthcoming lecture. It is about the birds and their age-long relationship with man. It will be seen in theaters like this across the country. In my lecture, I hope to make you all aware of our good friends, the birds. Theirs is a noble history, and through it all, man has played a conspicuous part. This cave drawing is one of man's earliest sketches of his feathered friend. One can see at once the loving care with which the artist depicted his subject. The story of man and his friends, the birds, is filled with many fine examples of ways in which these noble creatures have added to the beauty of the world. Take this plumed hat from the period of Charles I. How proud the birds must have been to have their feathers plucked out to brighten man's drab life. Here we have a later model, a refinement of the first. Here man, or rather woman, thought enough of the birds to have an entire one as a decoration. It's quite dead, of course. Naturally, the egg plays a very prominent part in my lecture. Not a word about which came first, however. I don't believe in dealing with controversial matters. Thousands of years ago, man was satisfied merely to steal an egg from a nest and use it for food. Now he has perfected this process by imprisoning each hen in a separate cage and by scientifically manipulating the lights so that she doesn't fall into the rut of the old 24-hour day. Thus, he can induce the bird to reach fantastic heights of egg production. Originally, there were many varieties of birds on Earth. Some have become extinct. The great auk, the passenger pigeon, and the famous dodo bird have all disappeared. Actually, they didn't exactly disappear. They were simply killed off. But of course, this is nature's way. Man merely hurries the process along whenever he can be of help. Man and birds have been responsible for a great many advances in our civilization. For example, the bird was the inspiration for the invention of gunpowder, and it was his speed that brought about the development of the shotgun. But man has not been unmindful of his debt to the bird. We have honored our feathered friends in many ways. We cage birds and show them off proudly in most of our zoos. And the turkey is traditionally our guest of honor at Thanksgiving. I suspect you never realized that if it weren't for birds, even some of our pastimes would suffer noticeably. Duck hunting, for example. Granted, bagging a fellow hunter can be diverting, but the supply is rather limited. I hope you don't mind if I have something to eat, but I'm rushed today. Planning the lecture has been most educational for me. I've begun to feel very close to the birds and have developed a real sympathy for our little... What was I saying? Oh, yes. I've come to feel very close to the birds and have come to realize how they feel when... I don't think I'll eat just now. Hardly proper with all of you here. Surely the birds appreciate all we've done for them. Don't you? Beautiful cage, fresh water, no other birds to bother you, none of that blinding sunlight. Oh, now why would he do that? Most peculiar. What on earth? I dare say you are wondering why I am floating around London like this. I am on the famous Thames River, investigating a murder. Rivers can be very sinister places, and in my new film, Frenzy, this river, you may say, was the scene of a very horrible murder.
It's a woman!
Another necktie murder.
Of course, one can never be sure where danger lurks. They tell me a dreadful crime was committed right in this building. My investigation next led me to this innocent alley, of which there are hundreds in London. But I don't think we should stay long. Something unpleasant is about to happen. Here is the scene of another horrible murder. This is the famous London wholesale fruit and vegetable market, Covent Garden. Here you may buy the fruits of evil and the horrors of vegetables. I've heard of a leg of lamb, a leg of chicken, but never a leg of potatoes. Look, she's wearing my tie. How do you like my tie? How do you like it?